and welcome back to my channel of an everyday life of an Aspie. If you're new, I'm an Aspie. I'm all about creating mental health and awareness and sharing my life story with basically autism and mental health, along with tips and advice, as well as advocating and educating to you all. I also do on a daily sometimes take you all on a journey what life is like with me, or just some fun and games that you may see floating about, hearsay, regardless of it all. So if you're into any of these and more basically on this, feel free to smash that subscribe button on the bottom right hand corner, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell, because as I said, 3 days a week I usually upload, but this may subject to change. So as you're aware, basically, as I said, this is based on the mitochondrial disease, obviously, because this is the month of mitochondrial disease awareness month, from leading up to this week of September 15th to the 22nd or 23rd globally, worldwide. And I clearly mentioned in the real brief intro basically how you can help. Basically, if you've got someone, for example, that has this condition, or even yourself, feel free to share your stories basically on the links that I shared in the very first video, which I'll link it in the icon above me and obviously description box below. And in saying this, also just as a heads up of a quick overview of what I've done, I've talked about what is a mitochondria, what is mitochondrial disease, and the signs and symptoms and causes. Some of it will be briefly broken down into like series, also just to bear in mind so it's easy to follow up. And in saying this, also basically in those parts that I've clearly just shared so far with those ones, these ones has a little bit of a brief touch up of anatomy and physiology, so that we can get a lowdown, just a quick revision, for some of us, to educate us all again if we have forgotten what a mitochondria is, and some other bits and pieces here say like, how it affects everyone in a different way with this condition. And in saying this, also I shared in the last part before I'm leading up to this one that I'm sharing, as it's titled, basically I talked about some of the treatments or what have you that you can do for yourself for your mitochondrial disorder. As I said before, also bear in mind that not all two persons are the same when they have this disorder. It's like that for that classic example that like for people that has autism. So give or take, everyone will have different signs and symptoms based on this hearsay. So enough further ado, guys. Basically, this one's based on the myths and misconceptions with hopefully a few facts along the way. As I said, some of the facts may have sound a bit repetitive from basically when I first started these video series for you guys, which I humbly apologize in advance, but hopefully it can stick in our mind, because as I know, it's a given. Also, just to let you know as a disclaimer, that I'm no medical doctor, I'm just your normal Joe Block. So if you see anything out of the ordinary for yourself or a loved one, do seek professional help or advice for yourself or your loved one, because I don't condone self-harm. So, as I said before, this is a given basically when it comes down to certain misconceptions about certain everyday disorders that we come across and they may not heard of, right? Some of us may have a lack of understanding, lack of knowledge, lack of know-how basically, and when that happens, assumptions occur to everyone that may have a certain disorder. Okay, this could also lead to some disappointment, arguments, disagreements, or what have you, for a particular someone that may be going through this disorder on their own, or even just for someone in this case maybe just wanting to dispel the myths and misconceptions about it. So that's why I'm here to hopefully share with you all some facts along the way that may sound common or may not, basically, as well. So, shall we dive in? I believe we should. So, the very first myth that has come across is myth number 1 is mitochondrial disease is a childhood disease. Fact. Although mitochondrial disorders are commonly symptoms in children, as I said before, they can occur at any given age and stage of life. You can be a little infant, you can be an elderly, you can be a teen. It can affect anyone at any given moment. Myth number 2. An individual with mitochondrial disease has mental retardation, growth problems, and or seizures. I don't like that word retardation, but it's what I've researched up, so I humbly apologize also to the ones that, feel offended. Fact on this one is only some individuals have these developmental problems. Patient symptoms can range from extremely mild to severe, involving one or more body systems, as I clearly mentioned, and can emerge at any given age or stage of our life. The brain, muscles, heart, nerves, eyes, ears and kidneys are the organs and tissues that are most likely to be affected by patients. Most patients' symptoms, however, will fluctuate over the course of their disease, at times experiencing no or few symptoms, while at other times experiencing many and or severe symptoms. Even family members with the same disorder can experience vastly different symptoms. Myth number 3. Mitochondrial diseases are inherited only from your mother. Fact. This, however, is forever wrong. Nada. Not true. There are several ways mitochondrial diseases can be inherited, passed along from parents to children. Under normal circumstances, a person's blueprint, the DNA in our genes that makes each of us unique, comes from both our mother and our father. So don't forever blame it's just the mother that has given us this disorder if you've got one. In mitochondrial diseases, however, these genes have mutated over time, which then has become defective, that are not normal. Receiving pairs of normal genes from each parent, persons with mitochondrial diseases may receive mutated genes from each parent or a mutated gene from only just the one parent. Another way a mitochondrial disease can be inherited is in fact only from the mother. In this type, there is a mutation in the mitochondrial DNA, a special DNA that exists only in the mitochondria. Only mitochondrial disorders caused by mutations in the mitochondrial DNA are exclusively inherited from the mother, our mothers. Myth number 5. If parents don't have any symptoms of a mitochondrial disease, there's no chance that their children can have a mitochondrial disease. Fact. Parents can be genetic carriers of a mitochondrial disease or any disease whatsoever. This means that each parent has inherited a defective gene but not show up of any classic signs or symptoms of the disease in itself. However, carriers are able to pass the defective gene onto the children. Here's an example using parents who are both carriers and have 4 children, just to illustrate in your mind. 1 out of the 4 children would inherit the defective gene and develop a mitochondrial disease and show symptoms. 2 out of the 4 children will be genetic carriers of a mitochondrial disease, just like their parents. The remaining child will be genetically typical. Both the genetically typical patient and the carriers will not develop mitochondrial disease. Myth number 6. Since mitochondrial diseases are incurable, no treatments can be given to these patients. Wrong. The fact is, even though these disorders are long-term and incurable, treatments are available. Do watch the icon above you if you want to see more of what I'm sharing here, or wait till the video ends so that I can share more with you guys. And then saying this also basically in the description. However, the early treatment of symptoms can reduce symptoms or slow the decline in health, as I shared. Avoiding certain medications and medical stresses that worsen symptoms is also helpful for the patient with mitochondrial diseases. Certain medications and supplements may improve mitochondrial disease-related symptoms, just as they do for any other incurable diseases, such as diabetes and emphysema, or shall we say, medical conditions. Myth number 7. A muscle biopsy is the gold standard for diagnosis of mitochondrial disease. Fact. Although the muscle biopsy is a powerful diagnostic tool, it shouldn't be considered a gold standard. A biopsy examination includes microscopic evaluation, enzyme testing, and genetic testing. Although all US labs that offer muscle biopsy meet strict laboratory guidelines, there's no agreed upon standard approach for enzyme testing, however. Furthermore, a muscle biopsy with full analysis costs well over $10,000 and poses both surgical and anesthetic risks. In some patients, the diagnosis can be made based on clinical symptoms and a positive blood test, identifying a genetic mutation or combination of clinical findings and other non-invasive testing. In either case, a muscle biopsy isn't necessary. Finally, since biopsy results usually don't alter the long-term outcome or treatment considerations, some specialists and patients choose to treat without the need for a muscle biopsy. Myth number 7. Immunizations can be harmful to children with mitochondrial diseases. Fact. There's no clear evidence that immunizations themselves hurt the patients with mitochondrial or metabolic disorders. Medical stress such as your fever, dehydration, illness, revving up the immune system may bring out or worsen the metabolic disorders. Thus, however, There has been some patients where the fever after an immunisation led to symptom onset or worsening. In these individuals, it wasn't the immunisation in itself that caused these problems. It's generally believed that patients should get their immunisations. Still, for individuals whose symptoms emerge or worsen when under medical stress, spacing out immunisations and tight fever control may help. This approach isn't based on medical science, however, it's based solely on reports or observations which didn't provide absolute proof. Myth number 8. All mitochondrial diseases are known by acronym and abbreviations. Examples: MELAS, MERRF, NARP, LHON, etc. etc. Fact: acronyms were commonly used when these disorders were first described, but today the naming of mitochondrial disorders, however, is evolving like many other disorders that we come and face across. Mitochondrial disorders are currently named by any of the following methods: by acronym description, still in the use of, although most people with a mitochondrial disease don't have an acronymic name disorder; by name based on a person who's described the disease; by name based on a specific genetic mutation; by name based on a microscopic description of tissue; or by name based on the deficient enzyme. So this quickly ends hopefully a short brief overview of the myths and misconceptions with the facts. If you like this, smash the like, comment below if you're with one of these people that has this, or if you had this and you've had certain other myths and misconceptions you want to dispel. Feel free to comment them below so that we can actually learn from each other. Not further ado, guys, also don't forget to share these videos around, and also in saying this, basically, feel free to follow me on my social medias based on what it will be shared. And then all further ado, guys, thanks for watching. Do you love what you do. Until next time, I'll see you again soon. Ciao for now.